Let's go to chapter 11, constructing models. So if you have a copy of this, remember, I'm posting this on YouTube later, so I always like say this for those people. Remember, if you have a copy of this, to do the problems and corrections on your own first for the best results before watching this video for explanations on anywhere you're stuck. So let's go to number 1 right there. Thank you for liking the live, guys. A machine produces X toys every hour. After 5 hours, the machine has produced 100 toys. Which of the following equations correctly relates X and the total number, and the total toys produced T? So this is a trick question. I wrote it and I tricked myself right now. So, because usually they're not going to give it to you like that. Usually they're testing you on like finding the rate yourself. But X is representing your rate. So it's going to be the rate times the number of hours, which is going to be 5. I keep wanting to put H because it's hours. But no, 5 times the X toys every hour is going to give you the total number of toys. So this is, what's that formula called? It's the one that's quantity is equal to rate times time. It's that one. So basically your R, your rate, is X, and then your quantity is like the number of toys. And then I remember I also put T there to try and trick people because T is in the formula. But this T is representing time, so like the 5 would be this. 2, whoops. Let me erase that. Let me mark it so I remember I did this. Okay, now let's go to number 2. So the table below shows the population of not creative fake plays in 2010 and 2020. If there is a linear relationship between the population and year, which of the following functions P models the population of not creative T years after 2010. So this is going to be P and this is going to be T. So we're going to think, if we look at each of these, it looks like, again, a linear equation that we're used to. So let's think how it's changing. So how it's changing from here to here, and from, well, depending on how you want to do it. Let's actually just plug it into slope formula is probably easiest. So let's do 1,580 minus 1,620. And then we're going to start with the 2020 minus 2010. You could have done it the other way. It just like my brain does not like thinking about the years being negative. So I did it the other way. But let's see how this changes. So that's going to be over 10 for the years. And then that's going to be negative 40 for the population. So if we simplify that, that's going to be negative 4. So the slope should be negative 4, like what you're multiplying T by should be negative 4. So it's either going to be C or D for this one, because those are the ones with which would have a negative 4T, like when you distribute this one, it's negative 4T. And then let's see what the y-intercept would be. Well, the y-intercept, like the starting value, the starting point, would be the 1620. I wanted to say 1620, but I should say 1,620 is the proper way to say it. So that's the starting point, the initial value. So it's going to be C. By the way, where can I get this copy? So some of these chapters I've released for free on my TPT. So my website's in my profile. It's just ag-tutoring.com. But I forget if this is a paid one, but like I have like free and paid chapters. Don't remember which one this is, but it's on there. So like if you just go to my website, there's a little like right on the homepage, it says like, go get my SAT materials here. That's where it is. So let's go to this one. No problem. So it says a teacher is printing worksheets for her next class period. She initially loads the school printer with 7,000 sheets of paper. After 10 minutes, it has used 40% of the paper. Which of the following equations models the number of sheets of paper P remaining in the printer M minutes after the printer started printing? So we're initially starting with 7,000, and then after 10 minutes, it's used 40% of the paper. So there was 70,000, like 70, or not 70,000, 7,000 is 100% of the paper. So if we think about like how the paper is changing, like the number of sheets of paper is changing, it's going to be that it's going down by 40%. So we have to see what 40% or 0.40 of 7,000 is to see the rate of change. Let me just plug that in really quick. So 7,000 times 0.4. So that's going to be 2,800. And then that's going to be 2,800, and that happens over a course of 10 minutes. So then we have to divide that by the 10 minutes, because it's going to be like how it's changing for every minute for our slope, and that's the change over 10 minutes. So then we could cross out a 0 on top for a 0 on bottom. And remember, it's going down, so it's negative, like we're using the paper, so the number of sheets of paper is decreasing. So we should have a negative slope. So the slope should be negative 280. And just right away from that, you can know already that it's going to be A. And then the explanation for why it's plus 7,000 is just because that's the starting point, our y-intercept, 7,000. So y equals mx plus b format is basically this exact thing. It's just instead of an x, they're using an m. And instead of y, it's p. So let's now go to number 4. So for number 4, it says the amount of trash pollution in a certain region dropped from 5 million tons to 5 million tons in 1989 to 2 million tons in 2001. If the amount of trash pollution decreased at a constant rate, that's another thing that they like to use for slope constant rate. Which of the following functions G correctly models the amount of trash pollution in millions of tons T years after 1989? So it's decreasing at a constant rate, so we should have a negative slope. So right away, I can cross out A and B because they're not negative slopes. So now I just have to determine, okay, is it going to be C or D? Let's figure out what the slope is. So the slope is going to be the change in, it's G, yeah. The change in G, which is going to be like the trash pollution, which I'll put trash pollution, in millions of tons, in tons, over the change in T, which is like years after 1989. So then let's see, what is the slope? So then that's going to be 2.0 minus 5.0 over 2001 minus 1989, because all I'm doing is slope formula with the years on bottom, years after 1989, sorry, on bottom, and then on top is just the trash pollution, the change in trash pollution in millions of tons. So then it's going to be y is equal to negative 3 over, and then that's going to be 12. So then this is going to simplify if I divide by 3 on top and bottom to negative 1/4. So it's going to be C. Where can I get this? I just joined, sorry, but it was a great question. Yeah, no problem. So I've released several chapters for free, but a lot of them are like paid, and you can get the whole book paid. This is available, like if you go to the homepage of my website, which is linked in my profile, it's just ag-tutoring.com. Right on the homepage, there's a button that says like SAT materials. If you go there, it's my digital SAT math workbook, that one. So let's go to number 5. So we have the owner of a local bookstore wants to increase the number of artists, no problem, that displays their artwork in the bookstore by 8 artists in total per month. On the first of this month, there were Y artists displaying their artwork in the bookstore. Which of the following functions expresses the total number of artists, M, the owner wants to have T months from now? Okay, so total number of artists, T months from now, and we know that there were initially Y artists displaying their artwork in the bookstore, and they want to increase the number of artists as by a artist in total per month. So it's increasing at a constant rate. So that indicates that we have a linear relationship right here. And A would be the slope in that linear relationship. So it would be M is equal to, so basically I'm doing Y equals MX plus B. It's just with different letters and stuff depending on the context. So the slope is going to be A. And then what's representing so that's artists per month. So then the number of months would be what's acting as X. So if you ever are like struggling to figure out what's acting as X, it's unless the problem's worded in a very strange way, it's typically just like what comes after the per or the each or the every, where they're telling you the slope. So like per month, so then T. And then plus the y-intercept, which you could think of as the initial starting point. So that would be just the y. So then it's going to be D. And let me just erase this part right here so it doesn't get all messy. Okay, so now let's go to number 6. So for number 6, it says Hannah spent $200 on household cleaning materials and forming an LLC to start a house cleaning service. Very cheap LLC. She charges $30 for each house she cleans. During her first week in business, Hannah made $70 after deducting her initial expenses. If H is the number of houses Hannah cleaned during the first week, then which equation best represents this scenario? So you see each, $30 for each house she cleans. A lot of these are going to be, it's going to be very helpful to like look for those words each, every, per when trying to figure out the slope. So here we know that 30 is going to be acting as the slope. And then after the word each, it says like it's for each house she cleans. So the number, the variable acting as X should be representing the number of houses. So H. So if I'm thinking in terms of Y equals MX plus B, I already know that my slope is 30 and that H is acting as my X value. And now we have, okay, during her first, but this might be because it's altered a different way. It's still, we can think in terms of 30H to help us, but you'll see it's not equal to like a specific variable. So if H is the number of houses Hannah cleaned during the first week, then which equation best represents this scenario? So they made $70 after deducting the initial business expense, which would be $200. So it'd be minus the 200 gives you $70 left over. Which you could kind of think about, like you could have made your own variable, I guess, for what could represent Y, and then just said that we're thinking about Y being 70 here. I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of like ways to kind of relate it to this. Oh, my uncle's calling me. Hold on, let me text him. Okay. So that's going to be, let's see. Oh, but then you have to manipulate it to look like one of these. So let's see, how could I, oh wait, no, actually, it's just A, just the backwards version. Sorry, I got distracted. Okay. Can you do blocked? I don't know what that means. So then let's go to number 7. Sam is going, can you do block it? I don't know what that means. So number 7, Sam is going to purchase a $400 tablet at the store, but he does not have the entire $400 to pay for the tablet. Currently, he wants to set up an initial payment, again, that word initial, like you're going to see these keywords a lot, of $80 and weekly payments of $40. Which of the following equations can be used to find the number of weekly payments? P, required to complete the purchase. Assume there are no taxes, interest, or fees. Okay. So everything needs to total up to $400, right? Because the tablet's costs $400. He's going to pay the $80 up front, and then there's going to be weekly payments of $40 until he like gets up to that $400 point. So it's going to be $40 times each of the weekly payments, which, yeah, that's P. So 40p, and then plus that $80 that he paid, that's also going to go towards that, what is it, the $400 tablet. So then that's going to be just C right here. Thank you guys for the likes. It really helps out. Okay, so let's go to number 8. So number 8 says a hot air balloon is initially hovering 50 feet above the ground. Then the hot air balloon begins to gain altitude at a rate, again that word rate, of 25 feet per second. Which of the following functions represents the hot air balloon's altitude above the ground? A, in feet, T, seconds after the hot air balloon begins to gain altitude. Okay, so it's initially hovering at 50 feet above the ground, and then it's gaining altitude. So it's like increasing by 25 feet per second. So it's a positive slope of 25. So right away, just from that, like knowing my slope is 25 and it has to be positive, I can eliminate every single answer choice except for B. B is the correct answer. Yes, it's B. So let's go to number 9. So it says, at a CD store, the price of a single CD is $D. After a customer initially purchases one CD, they receive a 20% discount on each additional CD purchased. If Carrie buys X CDs where X is greater than 1, then which of the following represents the total cost of the CDs? Okay, so you're buying that one single CD, right? That's going to be $D. And then you're going to add on like what you're paying for all the other CDs that you buy. So like the X amount of CDs that are like, and X has to be greater than 1 because it's going to be like every CD that you buy after that first one that costs the $D. So then let's see, it's going to be D plus, it's a 20% discount on each of them, each of the ones. So then you're going to be left paying, like if it's 20% discounted, you're left paying 80%. So you're really left with 0.8 times the amount that it usually costs. Because you're being left with 80% of what it usually costs. So it's going to be plus 0.8D, and then that's going to be times X minus 1, because X is the number of CDs you buy, but then you have to like subtract that first one that you bought. So then it would just be D. Okay, so let's go to number number 10. Oh my god. A marketing campaign is working extremely hard to finish creating all their ads before the holiday break. At this marketing company, assume each ad campaign contains Y ads, and each advertisement designer creates G. Oh, I forgot to say at the beginning of this video too. Dang it. This is the one that had a typo. Like, I found one typo in the book going through it again. And this one's the one, what was the answer choice supposed to be? It was supposed to be 30GY, because I changed the question, but I forgot to change the answer choices. And this is supposed to say 6GY. Okay, so now knowing that, over the course of 6 days, how many ads could be created by 5Y advertisement designers? So we're trying to find how many ads by the 5Y advertisement designers. So this is going to be happening over the course of 6 days. So you have the 6 days, and they're making G ads per every 1 day, right? So then those will cancel out. And this is all happening for in reference to one ad designer. Wait, hold on. Did I put the right thing there? Oh, we'll see in a second. So, G ads for every 1 day, and then we're going to say that there are 5Y ad designers, so we have to multiply that, because this is representing like what the ads would be from like one designer over the 6 days, so we have to multiply that by 5Y. So yeah, I did write that correctly. Okay, so then it would be, we just have to multiply across, and then, I mean, technically you could say divide by 1, but it doesn't really matter, because dividing by 1 does nothing. So then it would be 30GY, which is just A. Okay, so then let's go to number 11. I have to remember when I'm editing to put that in. Let me put a little mark so I remember before I uploaded this to YouTube. Okay. So let's go and do number 11 now. So a manufacturing company has a constant monthly expenditure of $4,000 on utilities and $3,000, there's that word, per worker for wages. If the company employs Y workers for an entire fiscal year, which of the following equations represents the company's total expenditure E in dollars for the year? So the total expenditure for the year, remember, this is all referring to 1 month, like the monthly, the amount they're spending monthly is going to be that $4,000 plus the $3,000 per every worker. So 3,000 times the Y number of workers. But remember, this is a month and we want the expenditure for the year. So we have to multiply that by 12 months because there's 12 months in a year. So then that's just going to be answer choice B right here. Okay, let me just get water really quick. Okay, and then, okay, let's go to number 12. So it says, on a Sunday morning, Bella baked N cookies every hour for 6 hours, and Emma baked R cookies every hour for 3 hours. Which of the following represents the total number of cookies baked by Bella and Emma on Sunday morning? Okay, so Bella baked N cookies every hour for 6 hours. So it's N cookies per hour for 6 hours. Whoops. So this is kind of like that quantity one too. I mean, you could kind of just think common sense wise, but if you want to think in terms of that formula, it's the quantity equals rate times time one, where N would be like your rate and the time would be 6 hours, and that gives you like the number of cookies. So Bella's number of cookies would be N times 6, so 6N. And then Emma's cookies would be R times 3, so 3R. So then that's just going to be C. Yes, C, correct. And now let's go to number 13. Cleo purchased a smartphone from a store. The store was having their annual sale, so she received a 30% discount off the smartphone's original price. The total amount she paid to the cashier was Q dollars, including a 10% sales tax on the discounted price. Based on the given context, which of the following expresses the original price of the smartphone in terms of Q? So we're finding something that's expressing the original price of the smartphone. Okay. So she received a 30% discount off the original price. What is Q again? Q, the total amount she paid the cashier was Q. So we could say the total amount she paid, I'm going to call like the original price of the smartphone, I'm going to call that X. So I'm going to say that Q, the total amount that she paid is going to be equal to, she's received a 30% discount, so then she's being she's left paying for 70% of the phone's cost, because if you deduct 30 from 100%, it's 70%, so 0.70 or 0.7, same thing, times X, times X is the original cost, and then there's a 10% sales tax on the discounted price. Okay, so it's not just that you're paying the 70%, you're going to be paying that plus 10% of the 0.7x, so you're really paying, you could think about that as like 110% of this is what you're paying, because you're paying all of it plus an extra 10%. So 110% as a decimal would be 1.1. Now we want to get X by itself. So this would just be the same thing as saying Q is equal to, let's just separate out everything so that X kind of looks like nice and neatly by itself. So all we have to do to get X by itself is just divide by the 0.7 and the 1.11. So then it would be Q over 0.7 times 1.1 equals the original price. So we're looking for this guy right here, which is just answer choice D.